Right, we've been looking at a few guitars. The first thing we just did some really basic Telecaster rhythm guitar into an AC30 and double tracked it just for the end section of the song. Because as we discussed yesterday, I just wanted the end section to build more. So that's the only point in the song where a double tracked guitar comes in. So that was just basic Telecaster into AC30, and so that's for the end section. Now, what we've just been doing is it's the Haver Murphy double header special. It's a technique we developed a few years ago when we were working with a guitarist who was a really good guitarist, but he wasn't great at double tracking his parts. So we wanted to find a way where we could get a really wide stereo guitar sound without having to double track anything. So we tried a few different things out, and what we came up with was it's basically a 2-amp setup, but one of the amps is a real amp and the other amp is a virtual amp. So we have a feed that comes into a group of pedals. So the first pedal in the chain is a compressor sustainer, which then goes into the POG, into the EQ, and then into a Boss digital reverb, and that's our split point. So everything is in one chain up until the reverb. Then we split the signal out of the reverb, and half the signal goes through whatever Clint's choice of pedals is into a AC30 amp farm, and then my side goes from the other feed from the digital reverb, in this case through a Dimension C, a MXR phaser, then into the AC30. Then what Clint does is balances up the sound of the 2 amps, so the virtual amp sounds very similar EQ and distortion wise to the real amp, and then we add delay on both and then cross over the delays, so the AC30 real delay is on the amp farm side and vice versa. So it's quite a long setup and quite a big chain, but really then you can play very little and you just get this really wide stereo sound. We changed the pedals depending on the song. For this song we wanted it to sound really affected, almost keyboard like, so we were using a lot of octaves in the POG, which is the polyphonic octave generator. It just gives us some high octaves and octave up, 2 octaves up. It's really good. It's like drawbars on an organ, really. I had a little bit of EQ on the Boss equalizer, just a little bit of upper mids, shelved out some of the low end. The compressor, I used different tones for different parts of the song. So basically we were doing for the chordal stuff in the earlier part of the song, we had the tone up quite high, and then for the end with all the mandolin guitar stuff we were doing, turn the tone right down because you want to lose the definition on the initial attack of the sound, so it becomes more of a sort of spreading effect rather than open guitar chords. As you saw from what we were doing, there was a lot of manipulation of the sounds as it was going down, so I'm filtering the guitar effects with the filter on the POG. Clint was doing some changing of I believe the tremolo time on the chorus trem pedal. I was doing a little bit of changing on the MXR pedal. There's a lot of real-time aspect to the sound. I think which is part of the reason it sounds so cool, is you're actually doing a lot of real-time work. So it's not just about moving a mouse around in plugins. You actually got your hands on the pedals and you're manipulating the sound to fit in with the song in real time. The last bit of guitar we're going to do on the song is more of just a kind of dry funk part. We haven't defined any exact parts yet, but I think what we'll get Wiley to do is just jam some ideas out, really unaffected, very direct, and just try a few things. Then we can loop up some sections and see how they work. But it doesn't require a lot. It's just more of an additional percussive element, really. And that should be it for guitars.